the cell that never sleeps. Before we dive in, if you're obsessed with crime stories that chill you to the bone, hit that subscribe button, smash like, and drop a comment, because what you're about to hear will haunt you long after the screen goes dark. It was 2:17 a.m. at ADX Florence, Colorado, an hour when even the most hardened criminals are trapped in silent madness. The steel doors of cell block 2 clanged shut with mechanical finality, echoing through the concrete corridors. In cell 14, Richard, the butcher, Hayes sat on the edge of a metal cot, eyes wide, hands trembling. For weeks, whispers had been circulating through the prison. Someone had found a way to smuggle forbidden contraband, something capable of turning the supermax into a war zone. But Hayes wasn't thinking about contraband. He was thinking about the hole in the wall behind the sink. A section of concrete had chipped over the years, unnoticed by guards, forming a perfect hiding place. And inside, a small, unmarked envelope rested. Hayes pried it open with the fingernail of a man who had learned patience behind bars. The envelope contained a single photograph, grainy, black and white, showing a man standing over a bloodied body in a dark alley. An alley Hayes recognized from an unsolved murder 6 years ago, a murder the authorities had pinned on someone else. As he stared, the metal doors rattled. Hayes's cellmate, Luis Moreno, hissed from the corner, "They're coming tonight. I heard the guards talking. Someone's on their way to check the blocks." Hayes shoved the photograph under his pillow. His mind raced. Who had sent it? And more importantly, why now? Across the prison yard, guards patrolled in synchronized precision, their flashlights slicing through the pitch-black night. At ADX, there are no accidental sounds, no idle footsteps. Every movement is recorded, every whisper logged. Yet somehow, someone had breached that silent fortress. Someone who knew how to play the system, and play it well. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, the sands of Guantánamo Bay shimmered under a scorching sun. Special Agent Naomi Winters adjusted her sunglasses and squinted at the tall, faceless detainee who had refused to speak for months. His file read like a nightmare. Suspected terrorist, skilled in evasion, previously involved in shadow operations across Europe. Nothing about him suggested weakness. Yet for some reason, he kept glancing at a guard who had just returned from Colorado. Naomi's gut twisted. She had heard rumors that someone from ADX had made a deal from the inside, and now the tentacles of that deal were stretching across the ocean. Back at ADX, Hayes and Moreno lay awake. Hayes's mind refused to stop. He thought of the murder in the alley, the photograph, and the envelope. Each image flickered in his mind like a film reel of doom. There was no time for hesitation. Someone inside the prison had set a chain of events in motion, and Hayes was now a key player. If the guards discovered the envelope, if the authorities traced it back to him, it could mean solitary confinement for life, or worse. Hours later, the morning shift brought a subtle but chilling change. A new guard, unrecognizable and unusually silent, started his rounds. His eyes scanned the cells like a predator, lingering on Hayes's corner for far longer than protocol allowed. Hayes felt a cold sweat break across his forehead. The envelope. He had to hide it. As he crawled toward the chipped concrete, a voice cut through the corridor, metallic, authoritative. "Cell 14, step forward." Hayes froze. The guard's shadow stretched across the cold floor like an executioner's blade. Hesitation could be fatal. His hand closed over the envelope. Heart-hammering, he realized that the photograph might be more than a clue. It was a map, a warning, and a threat all at once. And then the unthinkable happened. Luis leaned in, whispering urgently, "They're not here for us. They're here for someone else in this block. Someone who's already dead." Hayes's blood ran cold. The air grew heavier. And when they finally opened the locked basement door for a routine inspection, what they found changed everything. If you thought ADX Florence was impenetrable, think again. As the guards slowly pried open the basement door, the stench of decay hit first, a pungent, metallic odor that made Hayes gag. The light flickered as it hit the room's corner, revealing the body of an inmate nobody had seen in weeks. The skin was pale, eyes wide open in a silent scream, and in his hand, a crumpled note with a single line, "You're next." Hayes stumbled back, heart hammering, and Luis grabbed his arm. "We need to disappear," Luis whispered, voice shaking. "If they think we know something," he didn't finish. In ADX, finishing sentences was dangerous. Secrets could kill. Elsewhere, at Guantánamo Bay, Agent Naomi Winters sat in the interrogation room, staring at the silent detainee. The photograph Hayes had found had traveled fast, leaked through channels she didn't yet understand. Naomi's gut screamed that someone on U.S. soil was orchestrating events with terrifying precision. This wasn't just prison intrigue, it was a network reaching across continents, connecting killers and pawns alike. Back in Colorado, surveillance footage from the previous week was pulled, revealing a shadowy figure moving through the empty corridors at 3:02 a.m. No one could identify his face. The grainy images showed only a lean silhouette, gloves on his hands, and a calm, measured pace as if the prison itself obeyed him. Hayes studied the footage obsessively. Every movement seemed calculated. Every corner, every locked door, every guard blind spot had been mapped. Whoever this was, they weren't just breaking rules. They were rewriting the rules of confinement. Luis whispered, "Do you think it's him?" Hayes swallowed hard. Him meant the prisoner whose name had haunted Colorado and Miami police reports for years, Damian Cross, a man thought dead after a mysterious prison fire in 2018. But seeing Damian now, even in shadow, seemed impossible. And yet, the meticulous precision, the threats, the timing, it all pointed to one thing. Damian wasn't gone. In the basement, a second discovery sent shivers down Hayes' spine. Hidden beneath the corpse, tucked into a rusted ventilation grate, were files, hundreds of pages of blueprints, guard schedules, and coded messages between inmates. Whoever left them wanted someone to see, someone to act, and Hayes realized, the envelope, the photograph, it was a lure. The trap. And the next phase was about to begin. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Naomi received a coded email from an anonymous source. "Florence is just the beginning. Watch the bay. Watch the men they call ghosts." Her pulse raced. Someone was connecting the dots between ADX Florence and Guantánamo Bay. Someone smart, someone ruthless. And if she didn't move fast, bodies would pile up before the world even knew what was happening. Back in cell block 2, Hayes and Luis faced a grim choice. Report the findings and be silenced by corrupt protocols? Or move in the shadows, using the knowledge the killer, or mastermind, had left behind? They chose the latter. They had to. With makeshift maps scrawled on toilet paper and coded notes hidden in bread wrappers, they plotted their next move. Every step was dangerous. Every whisper could trigger disaster. That night, the prison went silent, but Hayes could hear it all. The metallic scrape of a key, the soft thud of boots on concrete, a faint hum from the surveillance cameras. And then, from somewhere deep within the cell blocks, a low, guttural laugh echoed, chilling Hayes to the bone. The sound wasn't human, not entirely. It was calculated. It was familiar. It was Damian Cross. Before Hayes could process the revelation, Luis pulled him back. "We've got company," he said, voice barely a whisper. Shadows moved in patterns too precise for random chance. Someone, or many someones, was following them. Every turn of the corridor, every locked door, every camera feed seemed to bend around them. Hayes knew one thing for certain. What started as a photograph, a corpse, and a note had exploded into a deadly game. If you thought the darkest corners of ADX Florence were behind steel and concrete, think again. Hayes and Luis descended the hidden staircase, the air growing colder with every step. The dim glow of a single hanging bulb revealed walls etched with cryptic symbols and inmate numbers, some dating back decades. The farther they went, the heavier the air felt, as if the prison itself was breathing, waiting for them to make a mistake. At the bottom of the staircase, they entered a chamber that defied belief. Dozens of cells, smaller than any above ground, were filled with men who weren't supposed to exist, ghost prisoners, erased from official records, living in silence, some for years. And at the center of the chamber, pacing like a predator, was Damian Cross. The same man thought dead, now alive, orchestrating a shadow network within the Supermax. His eyes locked on Hayes with a cold intensity that made the hairs on his neck stand on end. "You came," Damien said, voice calm, almost bored. Curious little mice. Didn't think anyone would follow the breadcrumbs. Hayes clenched his fists. What is all this? How, why? Damien smiled, a slow, terrifying curve. ADX Florence isn't just a prison. It's a lab. A crucible. They bring the dangerous, the unstable, and I bring order. Some call it chaos, but it's strategy. Power. And now, with the files you found, he gestured to the envelope and blueprints, you're part of it. Whether you like it or not. Louis stepped forward. We're not your pawns. Ah, Damien said, tilting his head. You think you have a choice. But in here, choices are illusions. Everything is controlled. Cameras, guards, even the rot that spreads through the cells. It's all part of the design. Meanwhile, above ground, alarms were blaring, guards scrambling, and Naomi Winters was racing against time. Her investigation into Guantánamo Bay had uncovered a disturbing connection. Damien Cross had been planning attacks, funneling information and training terror operatives from inside the Supermax. The photograph Hayes found was only the beginning. It was a test, a signal to see who would play along and who would resist. In the chamber, Hayes realized the stakes. Damien wasn't just dangerous, he was untouchable. The hidden prison was a fortress within a fortress. The ghost prisoners, the hidden files, even the timing of the basement corpse, they were all pieces of Damien's plan. Hayes and Luis could run, but where? Every exit was monitored. Every guard either corrupt or unknowingly part of the system. Suddenly, a shriek echoed from the far corner. One of the ghost prisoners lunged at Damien, desperation burning in his eyes. In an instant, Damien's hand was around the man's throat, effortlessly crushing the life from him. Hayes felt bile rise in his throat. This was the man behind unsolved murders, prison fires, and the terror that had stretched across continents. Luis whispered, "We have to take the files and leave before he notices us." Hayes nodded. They crept toward the rusted ventilation grate where the documents had been hidden, grabbing every blueprint, every note. Heart pounding, Hayes realized something terrifying. The photograph wasn't just a warning, it was a roadmap. Damien had been manipulating not just inmates, but entire investigations across the US and Europe, all from inside his concrete cage. As they retraced their steps, a low mechanical hum began, and hidden doors slammed shut around them. Damien's laugh echoed, omnipresent, omniscient. "You can't leave," he said. "Not now. Not ever." But Naomi's intervention came just in time. Using drone footage and a covert strike team, the Supermax lockdown was breached. Guards who were previously compromised were neutralized, and Hayes and Luis were extracted, breathing air they hadn't felt in months. Damien, cornered, glared at Hayes with fury, but even he couldn't escape the federal net closing around him. Yet the story didn't end there. Weeks later, forensic teams discovered encrypted messages hidden in the very walls of ADX Florence.